Marcus Chen walked into the large classroom on Kepler Station. The room was huge, with strange seats made for different kinds of aliens. Some seats were tall for the bird-like Ethlin. Others were wide and flat for the bug creatures called Clichter. A few seats were filled with water for the fish people known as Mare Single Quotes Duchi. Marcus was the only human in the class. This made him feel a little strange, but he was getting used to it. He had been at the academy for 3 months now. Most aliens were nice to him, even if they stared sometimes. He sat in his normal seat near the back. The chair was too big for him since it was made for larger aliens, but it was comfortable enough. Marcus pulled out his tablet and notebook. Today was interspecies xenobiology class. He liked this class because they learned about different planets and the creatures that lived there. Professor Vexthala entered the room. She was a beautiful crystal creature from Zarian Prime. Her body looked like it was made of blue glass, and light moved through her skin in pretty patterns. When she spoke, her voice sounded like music mixed with the sound of wind chimes. "Good morning, students," she said. Her voice filled the whole room. "Today we will study something very important. We will learn about apex predators from across the galaxy." Marcus looked around the classroom. He saw his classmates shift in their seats. Some of the bug creatures clicked their claws together. The fish people moved uneasily in their water tanks. Even the tall bird aliens fluffed their feathers nervously. "What is an apex predator?" Professor Vexthala asked the class. "Can anyone tell me?" A Clichter student raised one of her 4 arms. Her name was Clichtha. An apex predator is a creature that hunts other animals but has no natural enemies, she said. Her voice sounded like someone clicking their tongue very fast. "Very good, Clichtha," the professor said. "Apex predators are at the top of their food chain. They are the most dangerous hunters on their worlds. Every planet with life has at least one apex predator." Marcus thought about Earth. He wondered what Earth's apex predators were. Maybe lions or tigers? Or sharks in the ocean? Humans were pretty good hunters too, he thought. Professor Vexthala moved to the front of the classroom. Behind her, a large screen appeared in the air. Today, we will not just learn about these creatures. We will hear them. Sound is very important to predators. They use sounds to hunt, to scare enemies, and to mark their territory. The crystal professor looked serious. "I must warn you all. Some of these sounds are very frightening. They have caused fear in intelligent species across the galaxy. If any of you feel too scared, you may leave the classroom. There is no shame in this." Marcus saw several students look toward the door. A few of the smaller aliens moved their chairs closer together. One of the fish people, Gluboth, was already making worried bubble sounds in his water tank. "Why do predator sounds scare us so much?" Professor Vexthala asked. "It is because our brains are programmed to fear them. Over millions of years, our ancestors learned to fear these sounds. The ones who ran away when they heard predator sounds survived. The ones who did not run away were eaten." Marcus nodded. This made sense. Humans were afraid of some sounds too, like growling dogs or hissing snakes. But he had never been very afraid of animal sounds. His family had always kept pets. "We will listen to recordings from 5 different worlds," the professor continued. "Each recording contains the sounds of that planet's most feared predator. Some of these creatures are so dangerous that entire civilizations have moved to different planets to escape them." The lights in the classroom became dim. The professor touched something on her desk, and speakers appeared around the room. "Remember, students, if you feel too afraid, you may leave at any time. These sounds have caused some species to have nightmares for years after hearing them." Marcus felt excited rather than scared. He loved learning about animals. Back on Earth, he had visited zoos and watched nature documentaries with his family. He was curious to hear what alien predators sounded like. The professor looked around the room one more time. Are you all ready? We will start with the recordings now. The first sound comes from Umbral 7. This is the home world of the Shadow Rippers. Several students gripped their seats. Marcus could hear some of them breathing faster. The fish people made nervous splashing sounds in their tanks. The Shadow Rippers are night hunters, Professor Vex Thala explained. They are invisible in darkness. They can grow as large as your earth elephants, but they move without making any sound when they walk. The only warning their prey gets is the sound they make right before they attack. Marcus leaned forward in his seat. This sounded really interesting. He wondered what an invisible elephant-sized predator would sound like. Here's the sound of a Shadow Ripper hunt, the professor said. The room became completely silent. Even the normal background hums and beeps of the space station seemed to stop. Everyone waited. Marcus looked around at his classmates. Some had their eyes closed. Others stared at the speakers like they were bombs about to go off. The bird aliens had wrapped their wings around themselves like blankets. Professor Vex Thala's crystal body glowed brighter. Remember, she said softly, these sounds come from real recordings. They were made by brave scientists who risked their lives to study these creatures. Some of these scientists did not survive. Marcus felt a small chill run down his back. Maybe this would be scarier than he thought. But he was still more excited than afraid. He had always been curious about dangerous animals. The professor raised one crystal hand toward the speakers. Let us begin, she said. The first sound was about to play, and the whole classroom held its breath. The first sound began to play through the speakers. Marcus heard a low whistle, like wind blowing through a cave. Then came a sound like metal scraping against stone. After that, there was a horrible shriek that seemed to go on forever. Around the classroom, students reacted immediately. Two of the bug creatures, Clicker, jumped out of their seats and ran toward the door. Their claws clicked rapidly against the floor as they escaped. Several bird aliens wrapped their wings tighter around their bodies and made small whimpering sounds. Marcus watched all this with surprise. The sound was strange, sure, but it did not scare him much. It reminded him a little of the sound his neighbor's old car made when it would not start properly. That, said Professor Vex Thala, was a Shadow Ripper calling to its pack after finding prey. The scientists who recorded this sound barely escaped alive. 3 members of their team were never found. Marcus looked around the room. About half the students were gone now. The ones who stayed looked very upset. Gluboth, the fish person, was making so many scare bubbles that his water tank looked like a washing machine. Our next recording comes from the Cassiopeia Nebula, the professor continued. This is the hunting cry of the Void Stalkers. They are creatures that live in space between planets. They can grow larger than your Earth whales, and they hunt spaceships. Marcus perked up with interest. Space whales that hunted spaceships? That sounded amazing, not scary. He wanted to know more about how they could survive in space and what they looked like. Professor Vex Thala touched her control panel again. This sound was recorded by a cargo ship that was attacked. Only one crew member survived to tell the story. The second sound started playing. It began as a low humming, almost musical. Then it changed into something that sounded like singing, but wrong somehow. The melody was beautiful and terrible at the same time. It made Marcus think of a sad song played backwards. This time, even more students left the room. 3 of the remaining bird aliens flew out quickly, their wings flapping in panic. One of the fish people actually jumped out of his water tank and flocked toward the door, which seemed very uncomfortable for him. Marcus tilted his head to listen better. The sound was definitely weird, but it was also kind of pretty. It reminded him of whale songs he had heard in documentaries, mixed with some of the experimental music his college roommate liked to play. Fascinating and terrifying, Professor Vexthala said as the sound ended. The Void Stalkers use this song to confuse the navigation systems of spaceships. The ships fly toward the sound, thinking they have found another ship to trade with. Instead, they find death. Only about 10 students remained in the classroom now. Marcus noticed that most of them were shaking. Even Cliktha, the brave Cliktha who usually asked lots of questions, had her claws covering her eyes. Our third recording, the professor said, comes from Goliath Prime. This planet is home to the Titan Devourers. They are perhaps the largest land predators in known space. They can be bigger than your Earth's largest buildings. Marcus tried to imagine a predator bigger than a building. That would be incredible to see, though probably very dangerous. He wondered what they ate to get so big. The professor's crystal body dimmed as she prepared the next recording. This sound was captured by an automated research station. The station was destroyed immediately after making this recording, but the data was transmitted to a satellite first. The third sound was completely different from the first two. It started as a rumble so deep that Marcus could feel it in his chest. The rumble grew louder and longer, becoming a roar that seemed to shake the entire classroom. The sound went on for almost a minute, getting deeper and more powerful. This time, Marcus did feel a little nervous. The sound was so loud and deep that it made him think of earthquakes or volcanoes. But he was still more fascinated than afraid. It sounded like what a dinosaur might have sounded like if dinosaurs had been even bigger. More students ran from the room. Now only 5 students besides Marcus remained. Even Cliktha had left, clicking frantically as she ran. The remaining students huddled together in one corner of the room. Professor Vexthala looked concerned as she watched her classroom empty. I understand if more of you wish to leave, she said gently. We have 2 more recordings, and they are considered the most frightening sounds in the galaxy. Marcus looked at the few remaining students. They all looked like they wanted to leave, but were too scared to move. He felt bad for them, but he also really wanted to hear the last 2 sounds. Our 4th recording, the professor continued, comes from the Dark Nebula. This is the sound made by creatures we call the Nightmare Weavers. They are predators that can enter the dreams of sleeping victims. They hunt by driving their prey insane with fear. Now Marcus felt a real chill. Creatures that could get into dreams sounded genuinely scary. He had always hated nightmares. The 4th sound was the worst one yet. It started as a whisper that seemed to come from inside Marcus's head. Then it became a voice speaking words in a language he did not understand, but somehow the words felt evil. The voice grew louder and more angry, until it was screaming things that made Marcus feel sick to his stomach. 2 more students ran out of the room. One of them was crying. Marcus felt uncomfortable for the first time, but he stayed in his seat. The sound reminded him of some of the scary movies his older brother liked to watch. Now only Marcus and 2 other students remained. The other 2 were holding each other and shaking. Professor Vexthala looked directly at Marcus. Human Marcus, she said, are you certain you wish to hear the final recording? You may leave with no shame. Even trained soldiers have fled from this last sound. Marcus thought about it. Part of him was curious. Part of him was nervous. But he had come this far, and he really wanted to know what could be worse than dream-invading monsters. I'll stay, Marcus said. The professor nodded slowly. Very well. Our final recording is the most feared sound in all known space. It comes from a planet we call Horror Prime. The creature that makes this sound is so dangerous that an entire intelligent species abandoned their home, world rather than face it. She paused, dramatically. Here is the sound of the ultimate apex predator. Professor Vexthala's crystal body grew very bright. She looked at Marcus and the 2 remaining students with serious concern. This final sound, she said slowly, has been classified as the most psychologically disturbing audio recording in galactic history. Military researchers use it to test the mental strength of their best soldiers. Marcus felt his heart beat a little faster. What could be more scary than creatures that invaded dreams? The planet where this was recorded is now forbidden to all space travel, the professor continued. The research team that made this recording was found weeks later. They had gone completely insane. They spent the rest of their lives in medical facilities, screaming about the monster they had encountered. One of the two remaining students, a tall bird alien named Tweepa, stood up on shaky legs. "Professor, I think I should leave now," she said in a voice that sounded like whistling wind. "That is wise," Professor Vexthala replied. "Kelmoth, what about you?" The last student besides Marcus was Kelmoth, a rock creature from the asteroid belt. He looked like a pile of gray stones, shaped like a person. "I will stay," he said in a voice like gravel rolling down a hill. "My people have strong minds." Professor Vexthala nodded. "Very well. Marcus and Kelmoth, you are very brave. Or very foolish. I am not sure which." The professor moved to her control panel. This recording lasts for 2 minutes and 37 seconds. It was made on a planet the research team called Horror Prime. The creature responsible for this sound was never seen directly. The automated cameras only caught glimpses of shadow and movement. Marcus gripped his chair arms. The room felt very cold suddenly. The research team's final report said the creature was approximately the size of a small vehicle. It seemed to be covered in fur or hair. It had multiple appendages that it used for climbing and attacking. Most disturbing of all, it appeared to be intelligent. It seemed to be playing with its victims before killing them. Marcus tried to imagine what such a creature might look like. A furry, intelligent monster the size of a car that liked to play with its food. That did sound pretty terrifying. "The sound you are about to hear," Professor Vexthala said, "is this creature stalking its prey." The recording begins when the creature first notices the research team. It ends when the creature attacks. She paused with one crystal finger over the control panel. "Are you absolutely certain you wish to hear this?" Marcus looked at Kelmoth. The rock creature nodded firmly. Marcus took a deep breath and nodded too. Professor Vexthala pressed the control dot at first. Marcus heard nothing but silence. Then, very softly, a sound began. It was a low, rhythmic rumbling. The sound was deep and seemed to vibrate through the air. It went up and down in a steady pattern, like a motor running. Marcus tilted his head. The sound was familiar somehow, but he could not place it. The rumbling continued, getting slightly louder. Then other sounds joined it. There was a series of quick, sharp noises, like someone tapping on wood very fast. Then came some higher-pitched sounds, almost like chirping or singing. Marcus frowned. These sounds were definitely familiar. Where had he heard them before? Next to him, Kelmoth was starting to shake. Small pieces of rock were falling off his body. "By the ancient stones," Kelmoth whispered. "What kind of monster makes such terrible sounds?" But Marcus was not afraid. In fact, the more he listened, the more familiar the sounds became. The rhythmic rumbling, the quick tapping sounds, the little chirps and trills, and then it hit him. Marcus started to smile. Then he started to chuckle. Then he started to laugh. "Marcus!" Professor Vexthala called out in alarm. "Are you having a psychological break? The sound is affecting your mind." But Marcus could not stop laughing. The rumbling sound continued from the speakers, mixed with more little chirps and what sounded like scratching noises. Marcus laughed harder. "Marcus, you must fight the madness," Kelmoth shouted, pieces of his rock body falling everywhere as he shook with fear. Professor Vexthala quickly stopped the recording. "Medical team to Classroom 7 immediately." She called into her communication device. "We have a student having a psychological emergency." Marcus was now laughing so hard that tears were running down his face. He tried to speak, but he could only gasp between laughs. "What is happening to him?" Kelmoth asked in terror. Marcus finally managed to catch his breath. He wiped the tears from his eyes and looked up at the professor and his classmate, who were both staring at him in shock and fear. "That's just my cat," Marcus said, and started laughing again. Professor Vex Thala's crystal body flickered with confusion. "You're what?" "My cat," Marcus repeated, still chuckling. "That's Whiskers." "Well, not exactly Whiskers, but it sounds just like him. That's a cat purring and making normal cat noises." The professor and Kelmoth stared at him in complete silence. "A cat?" Professor Vex Thala said slowly. "What is a cat?" Marcus pulled out his tablet and quickly scrolled through his photos. "Here," he said, showing them the screen. "This is Whiskers. He's my cat. He lives with my family back on Earth." The photo showed a large orange and white cat lying on a sunny windowsill. Whiskers was stretched out comfortably, his eyes half closed in contentment. Professor Vex Thala looked at the photo, then at Marcus, then at the photo again. This creature lives in your home?" "Yeah," Marcus said happily. "He sleeps on my bed. He likes to play with toy mice, and he purrs when you pet him." "That rumbling sound you played? That was purring. Cats purr when they're happy." Kelmoth's rock body was now shaking so hard that he looked like he might fall apart completely. You keep the galaxy's most feared predator as a pet." Marcus looked confused. "Feared predator? Whiskers? He's afraid of vacuum cleaners and hides under the couch when strangers come over. The most dangerous thing he does is knock plants off tables." Professor Vex Thala stared at the photo for a long moment. Her crystal body had gone completely dim. "Marcus," she said very slowly, "if this creature is a common pet on your world, what does that say about humans?" Marcus shrugged. "I don't know. We like animals, I guess." But Professor Vex Thala was no longer listening. She was staring at Marcus with what could only be described as dawning horror. The medical team arrived 3 minutes later. They found Professor Vex Thala sitting in complete silence, staring at Marcus's tablet. Kelmoth had actually fallen apart and was trying to put his rock pieces back together. Marcus was calmly showing them more pictures of Whiskers. "Look, here he is playing with his favorite toy mouse," Marcus said cheerfully. "And here's one of him sleeping in a cardboard box. He loves boxes for some reason." Dr. Zephyr, the head medical officer, was a tall, thin alien with 4 eyes and silver skin. She looked around the empty classroom with confusion. "What happened here?" "We received a call about a psychological emergency." Professor Vex Thala slowly turned her crystal head toward the doctor. "Dr. Zephyr," she said in a whisper, "we have discovered something terrible about humanity." "What do you mean?" The doctor asked. Marcus looked up from his tablet. "Oh, they're upset because I told them Whiskers is my pet. Apparently, cats sound scary to aliens." Dr. Zephyr looked at the tablet screen. She saw the photo of Whiskers and immediately stepped backward. Is that a horror prime predator?" she gasped. "No," Marcus said patiently. "It's a house cat. From Earth, humans keep them as pets." Dr. Zephyr's 4 eyes went wide. "Humans keep horror prime predators as pets? They're not from Horror Prime," Marcus said, getting a little frustrated. "They're from Earth, my home planet." Professor Vex Thala finally spoke again. "Dr. Zephyr, Marcus has just informed us that the recording we played, the one that drove an entire research team insane, was simply the sound of his pet making happy noises." Dr. Zephyr sat down heavily in one of the oversized chairs. "Happy noises?" Marcus swiped to a video on his tablet. Look, I'll show you. He played a video of Whiskers purring while being petted by Marcus's little sister. The sound that came from the speakers was exactly like the terrifying recording they had just heard. The humans call this purring, Professor Vesthala said in a hollow voice. The creature does this when it is content. Dr. ZFR stared at the video. When it is content. You mean this is not a hunting sound? No, Marcus said, laughing again. Cats purr when they're happy, relaxed, or sometimes when they're hurt and trying to heal themselves. It's like humans humming when they're in a good mood. Kelmoth had managed to put most of himself back together. He looked at Marcus with his rock face. Human Marcus, how big do these cats grow? Marcus thought about it. Well, Whiskers is pretty big. He's about 12 pounds. Some cats can get up to 20 or 30 pounds if they eat too much. There are wild cats that are bigger, like lions and tigers, but house cats stay pretty small. Pounds? Professor Vesthala asked weakly. Oh, right. You use different measurements. Whiskers weighs about 5.5 kilograms. The silence that followed was complete. Marcus could hear the hum of the space station's air recycling system. Dr. Zephyr was the first to speak. Did you say 5.5 kilograms? Yeah, about that. He's a big cat, but not huge. Professor Vesthala's crystal body began to flicker rapidly. The research team estimated the horror prime predator weighed over 2,000 kilograms. Marcus looked confused. Well, maybe the aliens on Horror Prime have really big cats? Or maybe it wasn't a cat at all. I just said the sounds were similar, but the professor was not listening. She was accessing her computer with shaking crystal fingers. Computer, show me the physical data from the Horror Prime expedition. A holographic display appeared in the air. It showed measurements, photos, and research notes. Professor Vesthala read through them quickly. Nocturnal hunter, she read aloud. Excellent night vision. Retractable claws. Flexible spine allowing for incredible agility. Shows playful behavior with prey before killing. She looked at Marcus. Does this describe your pet? Marcus shrugged. I mean, kind of. Whiskers is more active at night. He can see really well in the dark. He has claws that go in and out. He's super flexible and can jump really high. And he does like to play with toy mice before he kills them. Dr. Zephyr looked at the professor. What are you thinking? Professor Vesthala's voice was barely a whisper. I think the Horror Prime research team did not encounter an alien predator. I think they encountered Earth cats. Big ones. That's impossible, Dr. Zephyr said. Earth cats cannot be on Horror Prime. Horror Prime is on the other side of the galaxy. Marcus was looking at the holographic data with interest. Actually, this is weird. Some of these photos look like paw prints. Big ones, but definitely like cat paw prints. He pointed at one image. And look at this scratch pattern on the tree. Cats do that to mark their territory and sharpen their claws. Professor Vesthala and Dr. Zephyr looked at where he was pointing. The scratch marks in the image were deep gouges in what looked like a metal tree. Whiskers scratches up our furniture all the time, Marcus continued. My mom bought him a special scratching post, but he still likes the couch better. Dr. Zephyr looked at the professor. Are you suggesting that Earth cats somehow made it to Horror Prime and evolved to be larger? Or, Professor Vesthala said slowly, cats are not originally from Earth. Marcus blinked. What do you mean? The professor turned to face him fully. Marcus, what if cats are an ancient species that spread across the galaxy millions of years ago? What if the ones on Earth are simply the smallest and most domesticated versions? Marcus thought about this. I guess that could make sense. But if that's true, why are the ones on Earth so friendly? Dr. Zephyr and Professor Vesthala exchanged looks. Because, the professor said, humans domesticated them. Humans took one of the galaxy's most feared predators and turned them into pets that sleep on beds and play with toy mice. The weight of this realization settled on everyone in the room. Dr. HFY spoke first. If humans can domesticate horror prime predators, then what else can they domesticate? Professor Vexthala finished. Marcus looked at both of them. Is this a big deal? I mean, humans have lots of pets. We have dogs too, and birds, and fish, and... But he stopped talking when he saw the expressions on their faces. Professor Vexthala looked like she might faint. If crystal beings could faint. Dr. HFY was rapidly typing something into her communication device. Marcus, Dr. HFY said carefully, I think we need to have a much longer conversation about Earth animals. Word spread through Kepler Station faster than a computer virus. By dinner time, everyone knew about the human who kept apex predators as pets. By the next morning, news reports were being broadcast across 3 sectors of the galaxy. Marcus woke up to find 12 different aliens waiting outside his dormitory room. They were all holding recording devices and asking questions very quickly in languages he did not understand. Excuse me, Marcus said, trying to get past them to go to breakfast. I need to eat. A tall, thin alien with purple skin pushed a microphone toward his face. Human Marcus, is it true that your species domesticates horror prime predators for companionship? They're not from horror prime, Marcus said, for what felt like the 100th time. They're Earth cats. And yes, lots of humans have cats as pets. Another alien, this one looking like a walking tree, asked, how many predators does your family personally own? Marcus thought about it. Well, we have Whiskers. And my sister has a cat named Princess. My grandmother has a cat called Mr. Buttons. Oh, and we have 2 dogs, Rex and Bella. My cousin has a bird that talks, but it mostly just swears at people. The aliens started talking very fast to each other in their own languages. Marcus heard several words that sounded like alarm calls. Excuse me, Marcus said again, but I'm really hungry. Can I go eat now? A security guard appeared and helped Marcus get through the crowd. The guard was a large blue alien named Officer Crixinol, who had always been friendly to Marcus. This is crazy, Officer Crixinol said as they walked toward the dining hall. The Galactic Council is calling emergency meetings. 3 different species have asked for military protection from Earth, and Admiral Zeekter wants to meet with you this afternoon. Marcus stopped walking. Admiral Zeekter? The head of station security? Why does he want to meet with me? Because, Officer Crixinol said quietly, everyone thinks humans might be the most dangerous species in the galaxy. In the dining hall, Marcus noticed that aliens stared at him even more than usual. Many of them moved to different tables when he sat down. A few actually left the dining hall completely. Professor Vexthala found him there an hour later. She looked like she had not slept at all. Her crystal body was dim and flickering. Marcus, she said, sitting across from him. We need to talk. Okay, Marcus said, eating his breakfast. The food was not great, but he was getting used to it. What about? I have been researching Earth animals all night, Professor Vexthala said. Marcus, your planet is terrifying. Marcus looked up from his food. Terrifying? Earth is pretty nice, actually. Sure, we have some dangerous animals, but most places are safe. Professor Vexthala pulled out a tablet and showed him the screen. I found information about creatures called dogs. According to this, they are descended from wolves, which are pack hunters that can take down prey much larger than themselves. Yeah, dogs come from wolves originally, Marcus said. But dogs are really friendly. Rex loves playing fetch, and Bella gives the best hugs. You hug them? Sure, Dogs love being hugged and petted. They're very affectionate. Professor Vexthala made a note on her tablet. And you mentioned a bird that talks. Are you saying humans have domesticated telepathic creatures? Marcus laughed. No, not telepathic. Parrots can mimic sounds they hear. My grandmother's parrot learned to swear because my grandfather used bad language a lot. Now it swears at everyone who comes to visit. So, you keep aerial predators that can perfectly copy the sounds of other species? I guess? I never thought of it that way. Professor Vexthala showed him more information on her tablet. Marcus, I have found references to hundreds of Earth predators that humans keep as companions. Snakes, lizards, spiders, even sharks in some cases. Well, yeah. People keep all kinds of pets. My friend Jake had a snake named Slither. It was really calm and nice. The professor stared at him. Calm and nice? Sure. Most snakes are pretty chill if you don't bother them. Admiral Zichter arrived at that moment. He was a massive alien that looked like an armored bear with 6 arms. Marcus had only seen him from a distance before. Up close, he was even more intimidating. Human Marcus, Admiral Zetny said in a voice like rocks grinding together. I need you to come with me. Am I in trouble? Marcus asked. Not trouble exactly, the Admiral said. But the Galactic Council has some questions for you. They walked to the Admiral's office, which was huge and filled with weapons from different worlds. The Admiral sat behind a desk that was bigger than Marcus's bed. Marcus, Admiral Zichter said, I need you to understand something. In the past 24 hours, we have received requests for military intervention from 6 different species. They are all afraid of humanity. But why? Marcus asked. Humans are pretty peaceful. We haven't even met most alien species yet. Because, the Admiral said, any species that can domesticate apex predators is clearly more dangerous than the predators themselves. Marcus thought about this. I mean, humans are pretty good at training animals. But we're not monsters or anything. Admiral Zichter pulled up a holographic display showing Earth. Marcus, tell me about Earth's apex predators. What are the most dangerous animals on your planet? Probably sharks. Or maybe grizzly bears? Lions and tigers are pretty dangerous too. And do humans interact with these creatures? Marcus nodded. Oh yeah. There are shark researchers who swim with them all the time. Steve Irwin used to wrestle crocodiles on TV. Some people keep tigers as pets, though that's illegal in most places now. Admiral Zichter's 6 arms all moved to grip his desk. People keep tigers as pets? Well, not most people. Tigers are really big and dangerous. But some people do it anyway. Marcus, the Admiral said slowly, on most worlds, if a creature is dangerous enough to kill a person, that creature is avoided at all costs. But humans seem to seek out dangerous creatures for fun. I guess we do like excitement, Marcus said. Humans go bungee jumping and mountain climbing too. We like adventure. The Admiral was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke again. Marcus, I need you to make a video call to your family on Earth. Okay, but why? Because the Galactic Council wants to speak with other humans about your predator domestication programs. Marcus started to correct him again, but then decided it was not worth it. He set up the video call on the Admiral's communication system. The call connected, and Marcus's face lit up when he saw his family's living room. His mom, dad, and little sister Emma were all there. And right in the middle of the screen was Whiskers, sitting on his dad's lap and purring loudly. Marcus! His mom called out happily. How are you doing at school? I'm good, Mom. But everyone here thinks Whiskers is scary. His dad laughed. Whiskers? Scary? He scratched behind the cat's ears, and Whiskers purred even louder. He's the laziest cat in the world. Behind Marcus, Admiral Zeker made a sound like a landslide. On the screen, Whiskers looked directly at the camera, and Emma held up another cat, this one small and black. "Look, Marcus, we got a new kitten. Her name is Shadow." Admiral Zeker fell off his chair. Marcus looked back at the Admiral, who was lying on the floor staring at the ceiling. "Are you okay, sir?" "Marcus," the Admiral whispered, "your family just acquired another apex predator." "She's just a kitten," Marcus said. "She's like 8 weeks old." On the screen, Shadow meowed and started playing with a toy mouse. She pounced on it with tiny claws and made little growling sounds. "Training the young ones early," Admiral Zeker murmured from the floor. "Brilliant and terrifying." Marcus's mom leaned closer to the camera. "Marcus, sweetie, is everything all right? You look stressed." "I'm fine, Mom. The aliens here are just really interested in our pets." His dad held up Whiskers toward the camera. "Say hi to Marcus, Whiskers." Whiskers looked at the camera and gave a long, loud meow. Then he started purring again, behind Marcus. Admiral Zeker fainted. Marcus looked at his unconscious commanding officer, then back at his family on the screen. I think I need to call you back later," he said, as he ended the call. Marcus wondered why everyone was making such a big deal about cats. They were just cats. He had no idea that 3 species had just declared martial law, and that humanity had accidentally become the most feared civilization in the galaxy, all because his cat liked to purr.